Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to all students and our lecturer, Madam Nur Faiza. My name is Nur Syafiqah binti Mustafa Kamal with my other four friends, which is Nur Fatiha binti Muslimin, Zainab binti Basir, Della Diaria Romanus, and the last one is Zorina Gusrin. Today, our group will discuss about corruption issue. This is subtopic that we will discuss today, which is summarize, ethical theories, implication and actors involved, and the last one is conclusion. Corruption is known as abuse of power entrusted for private gain. Indirectly, this has hindered a healthy nation, small and medium enterprise (SME) environment. When there is a breach of trust among employees, it can reduce the quality of SME products and services, not only prevent SMEs from obtaining license, participating in local and international value chain, but also exacerbating financial problem. Not only that, it also affects the competitive of SMEs, especially those dealing with the public sector. This can complicate businesses dealing with the government because they only run their business based on people who have purchasing power only. For example, tenders are sometimes manipulated in such a way that multiply bidders for a contract are ultimately owned or controlled by the same person or group. It is because no papers or trace of money can be found, so the MACC is frequently unable to prosecute. Last but not least, this corrupt practice prevents Malaysian SMEs from shifting from low cost to high value products and services, as many of their profit are lost as bribes and kickback to government officials.
Hi, my name is Della Diaria Romanus and I would like to continue with the ethical issues found in the news. The first ethical issue that can be found in the news is the menace in the way business is done. Committing acts such as bribery and corruption destroys the competitiveness of SME, especially SMEs dealing with the public sector. Doing business with such menace also destroys equal entrepreneurial opportunities to SMEs. Moreover, the second ethical issue is which business is undertaken based on relationship. SMEs are pushed to conduct business based on who they know with purchasing authority rather than product, innovation, or services. This creates a barrier of entry for other SMEs who wants to open up a business with the public sector segment. Next, an ethical issue that can be found in the news is rent-seeking arrangements that benefit the elite members over the poor. For instance, an example is where the Ministry of Rural Development developed a food stall center, and the goal of the infrastructure building was to help the poor or impoverished in a low income to be able to operate food stalls in that potential local tourist attentions to earn money. However, when it is given to the wrong party that was intended to benefit, within a few months, the projects would be abandoned, lying idle for years. Furthermore, the private sector is also rife with favoritism and channeling business to a specific party. An ethical issue that can be found is that bank employees arrested by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission for soliciting bribes for granting business and personal loans. Finally, according to Free Malaysia Today 2021 news, it is stated that a survey by Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia found that 30.5% of respondents were open to accepting bribes if they had the power and opportunity. Ethical issue is identified because of the thought of an individual to accept a bribe if given the chance. That is all from me.
Next, I will explain about ethical theory used in this case. So, the issue that we can conclude based on this case is whether dishonesty of individuals towards the responsibilities borne has had a negative impact on others. The theory that is related to the case that we choose is Kant's moral theory, which is falls under deontology. The deontological actually based on the intentions and motives of someone's action. It means that it is assessing the rightness or wrongness of human actions based on the objectives. Hence, we should focus on the objective of the person first when evaluating an action. But as long as the action or intention is right, there is no need to take a look at the consequences. It means that we know what is the good objective, we don't need to worry about. So, Kant's moral theory is suitable to be categorized in this case where it focuses on human being itself. To be more clear, this theory focuses on the duty of the person where they actually know their responsibility to obey and always being honest in carrying out duties. But through the corruption case, there are individuals who have violated their responsibilities by committing corruption in business to the detriment of SMEs. This clearly shows this act is unethical based on theory. There are three categorical imperatives. Categorical imperative is a moral requirement that based on a standard of rationality. These categorical imperatives need to be considered to relate into our case to further strengthen the opinion that the case is unethical. So the three formulations of the imperative that need to be linked into the case. First, act according to the maxim that you can will to be a universal law. Second, treat human beings as an end and not as means only. And the third, each rational and autonomous being must be considered as a legislator in the kingdom of ends. For the first categorical imperative, explain that whatever we do something, it must be accepted by everyone as immoral. For the corruption case, it is obvious that people do not agree at all because it is wrong. There is no country in this world that will accept these wrongdoings where it destroys the nation and the people around them. Universally, corruption is wrong. So in this case, where in 2018 it was found that 80% of SMEs reported that corruption and bribery were major concerns in conducting their business. This clearly shows that many people do not agree if this act of corruption is categorized as ethical. If we ask the primary school children, they also will agree that corruption really unethical. It has destroyed the competitiveness of SMEs, especially SME dealings with the public sector. Furthermore, traders' concerns over the manner in the way business is done with the government sector destroys equal entrepreneurial opportunities for SMEs. For the second categorical imperative, explain that we should not use people as a tool or to achieve an objective. We need to treat people as human beings and fairly. The people who act in such a way are just weak people because they are not able to work on their own instead of they have taken advantage by taking shortcuts to get more profit so that the lower classes have been affected. As in this case, SMEs have been forced to do business based on people they know with the power to buy, rather than through superior products, innovation, and services. This business policy has prevented SMEs from opening business with the public sector. The people with this power have hindered the longevity of sustainable SME businesses. Furthermore, in this case also clearly shows the second categorical imperative is not practiced, which in the issue of contracts, Bumiputra SMEs rely on government contracts for income and survival. About 10% of government procurement is reserved for Class F contractors, but this framework is abused in a number of ways. Those in power can manipulate this way of contracting by reaping half of the profits of Class F. The profit in question is a sum of money which is their daily expenses. Using people to achieve objectives is an ethical act. The last categorical imperative also explains that we should be equality and there should be no discrimination at all. So in this case, corruption is not only concentrated in the public sector, but it also occurs in the private sector. There is an attitude of favoritism and channeling business through certain parties. Several cases involving bank employees have solicited bribes for the granting of business and personal loans to those who do not meet loan eligibility criteria. This shows there is no equality, so this immoral individual deceive SMEs for self-interest. In the meantime, institutions also act hesitantly to investigate those involved in acts of corruption and bribery, tending to cover up and hide any misconduct, so the behavior of some of these individuals clearly shows it is unethical and so immoral. Based on the categorical imperative, it is clear that the act of corruption is wrong and no one will accept this bad action. They should not use their power to use people under them which both seek sustenance. This case always happens when it comes to relationships in business. If large businesses have engaged in this relationship, of course, small businesses will be challenged to thrive. This case is also unethical as it has prevented Malaysian SMEs from continuing to thrive in their business due to people who are selfish and too profit-seeking. In conclusion, this case is also unethical because their intentions and motives are totally wrong, since they actually realize what is the responsibility of their duty. If this act of corruption can be eliminated, our society will be ethical and moral. There is no term that has been trampled, used, and betrayed as a result of corruption. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Fatihah and I would like to discuss more about the implication of the corruption and also the parties that involved in the case. So we can say that corruption should be recognized that for the current purpose, public sector corruption will significantly increase the cost of a public goods and services, lead to the misallocation of a public resource, weaken policy making implementation, and destroy public confidence in the government. So police and judicial corruption can affect the rule of law and human rights, especially in the country. So corruption of the defense sector, health sector, or even industrial sector itself can also have a devastating consequence. So from this kind of a situation, there are two main implications that the public administration can get because of this issue that we can say that still occurs and will be continue occurs in our countries. So I will discuss more about the implication of it. So the first effect or the first implication of the corruption itself to the public administration is that the public itself lost faith to the public service. So people lost trust in leaders or social system, or can say the public institution, and sometimes society and ethics themselves when corruption is widespread and the corrupt actors feel liable. So as a political irresponsibility increases, such a perception persists and a political participations diminish. So the community itself always talks about these issues daily, because how the society can see the can realize that the credibility of the administrations is already gone. People also can see a bribery news regarding the government officer who are involved in such a crime. So failure to meet the public expectations of a zero tolerance for corruption adversely affects the legitimacy of the state institution and the essential usefulness of a formal norms that citizen and business should follow. So the second implication for the of the public administration is that the public sector will dysfunctionality or not being functioned correctly. So the cumulative effect of individual corrupt practice is a dysfunctional. So whether provided by the public sector, the quality of goods or can say the services degrades, and the process of achieving them becomes more costly, lengthy, and unfair. If bribers can be successful offered to the administration officer, you can say that those most successful in extracting these funds are ahead at expenses of colleges and competitors itself. So more honest people who can function better. So furthermore, companies you can say lose the incentive to offer better service product if they can weaken the competitors by winning political favors. So businesses and industries are structured to enrich the civil servants rather than seek innovation and efficiency. So this can lead to a loss of instructing motivation within the organization itself and employees and also the officer uh, demoralized and people begin to doubt the value of hard work and innovation itself. So the final implication of corruption towards the public administration is the increasing of crime among public servants. So corruption cases will be getting stronger among government employees as they have seen their colleagues do such thing. The daring nature of can say that taking such an illicit money is influenced by the state of the garden of the organization handling those cases among officials. So public servants see this as an opportunity to for them to earn some money side, okay, to earn more money side. This also can happen because they know each other. They aware that this happened among all of them, causing them to decide to protect each other, so they do not get cuffed. So how they protect each other? They they decide to split the money that they get from the bribery, from the corruption. So this causes the authority to have a difficulty seeing the problem, and they will ultimately be immune from all police and also the laws. So this case can say separate from one department to another in order to strengthen the position. With this, such cases are quite difficult to curb due to the involvement for all parties, from all the parties to protect each other. There are two parties or two actors that involve directly or indirectly in these cases, which is first the small and medium enterprises and the public servants. So these two parties play an important role in making sure the continue of economic growth in the country, and also part of public servants who had the responsibility to make sure that the administration keeps work correctly. But sure enough, the public servants or the public officer always take advantage of the power above the people who want to take a part in SME. So bribery and corruption become a common activities among the administration officer. This is causing most of the people who want to involve in SME fail to get their own business license because of the money demanded from the public servants. So that's all for me. So I pass to the next presenter, like to discuss more about the topic. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
Corruption is unethical use of authority for personal benefits or advantages. We can say that it is similar to diabetes in that it can only be controlled but not completely eliminated. It may not be possible to eliminate corruption entirely at all levels, but it is possible to keep it within acceptable bounds. Corruption, as we all know, is a part of Malaysian culture. Institutions are hesitant to investigate those who engage in corrupt act and bribery, preferring to cover up and conceal any wrongdoing. This institutional attitude toward corruption fosters the belief among culprits that they will never be held accountable for their action and thus will be able to avoid any consequences. Therefore, corruption financially cripples many SMEs. Corruption is eroding SMEs' competitiveness, particularly in their interaction with the public sector. The manner in which government business is conducted is destroying equal entrepreneurial opportunity for SMEs. Today, a new approach to combating corruption is required as current education and enforcement have failed to those Malaysian culture dark side. That's all from our group. Thank you for listening.